All right, guys. So I'm doing this for those of you guys that missed yesterday's meeting about the final project for world history. Because obviously, I don't know what it was, but Zoom was having some issues yesterday. So um, here's the basic overview of the assignment. It is due May 12th. I do have a part that will be due this week. We'll cover that here in just a moment. But you're basically going to be writing a 4-page paper minimum. Now, about 3/4 of one of those pages won't even be sentences. It'll just be some basic information you're getting down. It's 12-point Calibri font, double spaced. If you're writing it on um, uh, Google and using Google Docs, and you're like, well, it doesn't have Calibri font, you can look through and it will find the fonts. I'm trying to, could show you, but I can't even remember how to do it myself. But trust me, you can find the font on here. I've been able to find it before with people in the past. Um, you'll have a cover page that doesn't count towards your pages, your 4 pages. You have 4 pages that are your actual paper. But you have a cover page. On that cover page, you'll have a map of your country. You can just get an image from the internet, put it on your cover page. On that, you also have your name and country name that you're covering. So one of the things I need you to do by today is to have chosen the country you're going to do. Um, and more than one person can do the same country. You cannot choose the United States, Canada, or Mexico. Every other country in the world you can choose. Now, let me give you a little warning. If you choose some really obscure country that hardly anybody's heard about and there's not a lot about, you're going to have a hard time writing a 4-page paper. So choose a country that's got something you're interested in, something you would want to cover. In that paper, you're going to cover the following. You're going to write part of your paper about the physical geography of your country. This would include things like the climate, what is the capital city and other major cities, major bodies of water, so rivers, lakes, uh, mountain ranges that might be important to the area, other major geographical features, maybe something like maybe there's famous desert in the area or just some other geographic feature that is in your country. So you'll want to write some information about this, probably 1 to 2 paragraphs. Will be what you'll do with physical geography. You'll do a part of your paper on some statistics, and they're all listed here. Now, I'm not going to cover this right here because this is what I'm going to cover here in just a moment and give you more detail. The assignment you're going to do this week is to gather these statistics. Then, for about 1.5 pages of your paper or so, it could be a little less than 1.5 pages, a little more. It probably depends on the country you choose, but you're going to briefly do a historical overview of your country from the founding of your country, even if it's way back in 3000 BC to the present. Obviously, if you choose countries like Italy or China, you're going to have to really condense their history. But if you choose maybe a country like, I don't know this, but Nigeria, you know, we don't know as much about that. You'll probably have to look into it a little bit. Whereas, with Italy, man, just the history of Rome, you can write books. So you're going to have to really condense the history and just give the really important details. You're then going to have part of your paper that is on the culture. Now, I have all these things highlighted. You see, physical geography, statistics, history, and culture. So on your paper, I literally want you to do a heading that says culture or history or statistics. As far as culture, what I want to know is what current government system does your country have? And when did that current system of government begin? Who's the current leader of your country? Put what their title is, if they're a king or a prime minister or a president or dictator or whatever. Put their title and put their name. And then 2 other famous people from the country you choose, and then just write 1 sentence about each of those people, the leader and 2 other famous people. Don't write a big long thing about it, just 1 sentence. In the country you chose, what are the 3 most popular sports in that country now? So for much of the world, soccer will be pretty high on the list. For some other countries, it might be something else. What does the flag of your country represent? Now, this is if it applies. Maybe the flag's totally random and there's no reason behind it. But I'm pretty sure if you look into it, the flag probably has the colors might represent something. The reason they have maybe particular things on there might represent something. So, what does the imagery and the symbols on the flag represent. What types of food does your country enjoy? And don't think of it as the American version. What I mean by that is, I'm sure Chinese food in America is different than Chinese food in China. There are probably some similarities, but try to be precise as to what typically would people in the country you're covering eat. What kind of spices do they like? What are some common items they choose to eat? Clothing, you can talk about modern clothing. However, there probably won't be a lot to say about this because most countries dress pretty similarly today. I said most. Now, certain countries, maybe in Africa or Middle East, you might have today where they're still wearing a more traditional type of dress. But definitely cover what was the traditional way that people dressed in your country, because each country definitely had their unique way of dressing in the past. What is the family like? This could be today or even in the past. Um, do the families live in large groups? So places like India and even Hispanic societies tend to live in larger people groups. So sometimes grandparents will be living with the parents and the kids and the grandkids. It'll be like all in one house. Whereas in other societies, they don't do that. So this gives me a general idea of what the family is like. You don't have to spend a lot of time on that, but a general idea. And obviously, I think almost every society respects elders, but in some, like China, at one point in time, there was worship of ancestors. And even today, I would say they respect their elders and their parents and grandparents more than, say, Western society does. So spend some time on family a little bit. If you were to visit the country you're going to, uh, name 5 places you would want to visit in that country. What are the 5 places you would want to go see? And then anything else you find interesting about the culture, um, at all, add into your paper. Then on a separate page, you would have a bibliography of all sources. That would mean a works cited page. This will include anything that is for physical geography, history, or culture. Now, what I mean by that is statistics. I don't really need that in your bibliography, because if you do that, your bibliography is going to get ridiculously long for all of these statistics. So I'm going to have to stop sharing the screen for a moment and pick a different thing to share because we're going to look at the statistics part, and that's the part I want you to do this week. So let me share a different screen, like I said. Okay. So here is a list of the statistics I want you to have on this paper. And like I said, your paper, maybe I didn't mention, it's in the thing, but it's double spaced. So you can see right here, this is taking up 2/3 of the paper or something. That does mean that one of your pages in your paper will look something like this, although you will have answers. You'll have total population, and you'll give the number. So what I want you to do this week, and this is pretty simple to do, you just go on Google, search total population of such and such country, population density per square mile of such and such country, land area in square miles for such and such country, life expectancy for such and such country, GDP. Let me briefly mention what that means. That means gross domestic product. That is probably the best indicator of how good your country's economic success is. So I'm gonna have to. This is why this is hard, but I'm gonna have to stop sharing again, and I'm gonna choose to look up a few of these on Google for you for the United States, just so you can see how it works. So let me share screen again. Okay, so let's look up. This is an easy one. Total population of USA. All right. So here's the total population of the United States as of 2019. And for statistics, for some things, you're going to want to click on. I mean, here they have what they believe it is as of Monday, April 27th. Wow, that's really precise. So it's grown a little bit, 330 million people. What I'm saying is, on some of the things you're going to do, you're definitely going to want to look at some actual websites to get a little bit more. But I do want your information to be fairly recent. So within the last 2 to 3 years. So 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020. I'm okay with accepting data from those time periods. But don't give me like what the population of the United States was in 2010. That's too long ago. Make it more recent. So total population, you would report something like this. But then you could say population per square mile of USA. And that's called population density. But approximately 92.9 residents per square mile of land area in the United States. Now, you're going to be putting in your country, but that's what you'll be putting in as far as that goes. Now, let's look at total GDP for USA. So it says as of 2018, $20.54 trillion. So this would be the all of the goods and services of the United States combined. The United States is number one on this list. China is number two. And China has been growing, and a lot of people are like, China's going to catch up. Well, that is possible, but here's the important thing: total GDP is one measure of economic success, but let's do GDP per capita. Okay, and the United States per capita per person, 62,794, and a little bit more. I'm just explaining what some of these numbers mean. The interesting thing is, you look how America's pretty consistent here. A little dip there when we had our little recession, but it's a little dip. I'm sure we're going to have a dip here, unfortunately, because of coronavirus. But you look at Canada and the United Kingdom's been a little bit more up and down. Also, one thing to note, some people talk about how living in Canada is better than living in the United States because it's just such a great place to live. Well, do you notice their per capita GDP is $16,000 less per person than the United States? So now, you notice China is not on this list. China's per capita is around 9,000 per person. 9,000. So when you say total GDP, yeah, China's doing pretty well, but that's because they have 1.2 billion people. They have about 4 times the population number of the United States. So their GDP should be pretty large, their total GDP, but per capita, it's not nearly as successful. So these are just some of the things you need to report on. Obviously, there were other things as well. I hope this answers your questions. The statistics part, that assignment I showed you that just had the statistics, that's due this week by Saturday. That way I can make sure you're making some progress on this paper. I'll be giving you more time, obviously, to work on, have some stuff in next week. Then the week following week on the 12th, this paper will be due. If you have any other questions, please email me, text me, and I will be glad to answer those. So, signing out. Hope you guys are doing good. Hope this explains the assignment well.